Hi everybody, I'm Brianna and today we are building in The Sims 4. I'm building in Newcrest. I am making a save file to fill up Newcrest. It is the base game world that has all empty lots. And today we are building a lofted home. It is 1 bedroom, 1 bath, so it is quite small. But there is plenty of space if you want to end up expanding your sim family, so you can always move the lot forward if you want. You can remove some of the items that are in the back to new places, and you can expand the house if that is what works for you. Here I am starting on the roofing. I always start in the exterior of my home. I feel like it gives me a better idea of what direction I'm going to be going when I start decorating the inside of the house. I think that's a really big thing for me, so I always start on the exterior of my house. I did work with all white windows and a white front door. It's just the easiest thing for me, especially if I have trouble finding out what style I want to go for. I was planning on building a cutesy loft, so lots of pink, more of a girlier home than normal, and it definitely did end up like that. So here I'm looking through all of the swatches. I ended up with a kind of a sage green, not really sagey, because I do find that we don't have a whole lot of exterior wallpapers. I wish that we had more. And some of the ones that we do have are quite glitchy. Sometimes you have wallpaper that are supposed to have columns in all the corners and they don't place them correctly. So sometimes it can be a little difficult. But here, you always gotta make sure you got your trash can, or else you're gonna start dumping your trash all over the floor. So trash can's important. I'm kind of covering it up with these grass fencings. I think it makes it look nicer, especially because I didn't really have a spot that I wanted to put it in the backyard. So I've started on my landscaping. These magnolia trees are by far my favorite. I love using them. They fill up a lot of space, but they're also really, really pretty. So I love using them. And I wanted to add a little more texture to the front of the house, if that makes sense. So I ended up using these window boxes. I love these. I think it adds a little more character to a house. And I think that they're fairly cheap. I could be wrong. But if you're on a budget, I think that they're fairly cheap. I'm not sure. I had no budget when I was building this house. I was just doing whatever my heart desired, which might be bad based on pricing, but I don't think it was over 30,000 simoleons, which is still more than our starter home, but it's cheaper than it could be. And I started using these blue flowers that I am placing here. I love these. I just discovered them. I don't know how I didn't know that we had these, but I think that light blue is so pretty. A lot of our flowers that we have are like neon bright colors. They're not exactly neon, but they're very bright. So I like using those light blue ones because So now I am starting on decorating the living room. I didn't really have a plan of how I wanted to furnish it. It is a really weird space. It's right when you walk into the door. You have the stairs right in front of you, so it's really weird space to try and furnish. Where you put your TV, where you put your chair so people can walk around. I did end up using mostly, actually I think it was like all Dream Home Decorator furniture for the living room. Yes, I noticed that my fencing is coming into the wall. I tried covering it up. I could not cover it up. I tried putting a picture there, but then in my head I'm like, well, in real life you'd like hit your head when you're sitting there. And it's a Sims, so it doesn't really matter, but I thought it also looked weird. So I just put a picture above there eventually. I didn't cover it up. If it bothers you that much, you could take down the fencing there, but I really like the fencing, so I didn't want to do that either. So when I end up playing this, I guess I'll just suffer. But here, as you see, I'm trying to find a picture to cover it up with, and it just looks weird when you move it down. I didn't think it looked normal, so I just left it that way. But I ended up going with a gray, charcoal, green, like, colors for the living room. I don't know, it's what my heart wanted, and I ended up making this little indent the dining room. I didn't use like a conventional dining room table. I actually ended up using a tiny living bar table. I think it looked nicer. It adds some height into the room because it's small. I thought it made it more airy because it is a smaller table and it is a small spot. And then here I am setting up the kitchen. I also used All Dream Home Decorator for the kitchen. I love this pack. It's an addiction. I do have a problem. I need to stop, but I can't. So it is what it is. I end up putting in an island into the kitchen. That space just seemed too open. There needed to be something there. A table wasn't gonna fit, so I ended up just putting an island there. I think it adds more counter space anyway, especially if you end up having parties. So you have plenty of space to put any of the food that you want for your parties. I know when I have parties in The Sims, for some reason, I think I'm feeding a whole army and make like 12 different recipes. But it is what it is. So you have plenty of counter space, especially if you end up expanding this. You have room to bake with your kids if you want and stuff like that. So now we are upstairs. That indent in the wall is going to be a bathroom. It might be weird layout for some, but I actually end up really liking the outcome. I do have CC in my game, which is why you see all of those extra items that has like the little wrench in the corner. There is no CC in this build. I did not do that because I feel like that would just be mean. I know some of these builds, they look so beautiful and it's all CC and it's like impossible to be able to get all of those items to be able to download that build. So this build has no CC, not to worry about that. But it does have quite a few packs, but I do believe it's only limited to like 6 of them. That's still a lot, but I couldn't help myself. There's just certain items that I really wanted to use, so I ended up adding more and more packs of what I was using. This little runway area I decided to make as a little office area. It has a desk. I'm going to end up adding a bookcase. It has its own little chair in the corner with an easel. So there are plenty of skill building items in this home. So you can gain your skills through reading for like your logic and stuff like that. You have the computer, which is always a necessity. Playing in a Sims home that does not have a computer can be really difficult because you always end up needing it somehow for whatever job you have. I was going to put the plant bonsai tree there, but it was having a really weird shade issue on there up against the wall. So I just ended up not using it. I ended up putting an easel. Here's when I'm setting up the bathroom. As you see, all of the blue wrench things, that's all CC. I didn't use any of that. So I wanted the bathroom to be fairly open. I didn't want to block it off to make the space seem even smaller than it actually was. So I did use the wall, and I added some medium wall height windows there. I'm not 100% sure if your sim decides to use this bathroom. If somebody comes upstairs, they'll become embarrassed. I'm guessing they probably will because it's not enclosed, so it's kind of like they're out in the open. I'm not 100% sure. I know in real life this bathroom is 100% not the way to go, because that is kind of weird. But nowadays I feel like bathrooms are becoming more open to bedrooms and stuff, so maybe it's not unreasonable to have it like this. But in The Sims it doesn't really matter. So I ended up putting full tile where the shower was, just to make it seem a little more realistic. You wouldn't want to have just full drywall where your shower is. So here I am adding extra wallpaper onto the walls. I liked the white wallpaper, it looked really clean, but I wanted to add some extra colors to the wall. I love this spade tile. I think it's so simple and classic. It doesn't work in every aspect because the tiles are so thin, but I thought it looked really good downstairs. And I love this triangle wallpaper from Dream Home Decorator. Sometimes it could be a little bit much. I really liked how it looked up here, but if you don't like it, you can always change it back to white or whatever color that you desire if you end up changing all the swatch colors and stuff like that. So now I'm finally back to finishing the living room. It's a really weird space. It's right in front of the stairs. You want to make sure you have enough opening so they can walk up and down. So I decided to use this Dream Home Decorator TV table thing, whatever you want to call it. I had issues trying to find the right TV. Some of them are either too small or way too big. So I just ended up using this. I wanted to size it down, but if you saw, you could still see the LEDs stay in the same spot. So I just ended up using that size, and I moved it up the wall so it would fit better. And now I'm just adding some final touches of decorations to the kitchen, stuff like that, making it feel like somebody actually lives here. I do eventually end up putting a closet in this corner. I wanted to add some clothing because I feel like this is a girly home, so I thought maybe somebody who lived here would want to display all of the clothing that she has, just a little feminine touch to a small space, but doesn't make it feel too cluttered. So you can change your clothes there and stuff, and it's not a big piece of furniture that's blocking something. In the kitchen, I always have my 3 basic things that I always add: my knife block set, some soap, and paper towels. I always add those on the counter. I don't know why. I think it just adds a little more realism to your gameplay. At my house, we always have our soap in the corner of the sink with some paper towels or washcloths that we might be using. I think it just makes it more realistic and lived in. Now I'm just adding some final touches to the build. I really decided I didn't want that much white. It did look really nice, but I just wanted to add some colors on the walls, and I really like the crown molding that wallpaper has. So that's just what I ended up using. Upstairs, I do believe I still keep white, but downstairs I just wanted to add a little something extra because it seemed a little too bland for the walls. And I think that crown molding on the top really made a difference. So here I am adding a little bit more detail to the bottom. I really wanted to use this spa day mini fridge, but it was so big I could not find any place to put it. It just looks so out of place because it's so large. I really thought it was smaller than that. I have no idea why. And then look at that face. It takes up like the whole living room. That would be impossible. So I ended up putting a poof there so you can do some yoga as another skill building aspect. And now I'm in the backyard. I wanted to make it so you could have people over and hang out in the back. So I put a table with an umbrella and some chairs. I ended up adding a grill. Hopefully me adding a grill doesn't cause you to have too much issues with your Sims always constantly wanting to grill. Sometimes I still have that glitch even though the Sims team say that they fixed it. I added some planters. I did add that bike. It is technically from Cottage Living because you were supposed to get it when you ordered or purchased Cottage Living within like the 5-month period of it coming out. But if you don't have Cottage Living, it's not that big of a deal. It won't be there. So now I'm adding some terrain paint. I made it seem like it was a patio outside, but I kind of wanted it to blend in with the grass, so I didn't want to full on add tile in the backyard. I'm adding my favorite blue flower bushes. I love those. And now I'm adding a little more terrain paint around the house. I think adding it around the dirt in the house of where the edging is just adds a little more realism. And then we're adding some traits of breeze and natural light, and that's it. I hope you love this build, and I'll see you next time. Bye!